Good morning, good afternoon, good night, wherever you're watching. I'm Film Fan Dan, and with just 4 days to go until the release of Creed 2, a film that I'm so excited about, I thought I would run through my top 7 Rocky movies. 7 being because we're going to include Creed in that total. So Rocky 6 and Creed, 6 plus 1 is 7. So anyway, where to begin? So number 7, and I'll go up to number 1, so build the anticipation as we go. Number 7, I think everyone would be comfortable with this being at the bottom of the list. Rocky 5, an entertaining and an enjoyable blockbuster. Tommy Gunn was a decent villain. Duke did his best. I can't remember who he's impersonating in it, but he was quite funny. But at the end of the day, it wasn't very good, was it? And the thing that really upset me the most was that Rocky 4 ended with the kid being about 4 years old, and Rocky 5 starts and suddenly the kid's 13 years old. So we've got this weird time gap that makes absolutely no sense, that isn't explained whatsoever, and that will forever bug me, and I don't see it as even a real part of the Rocky franchise. So at number 7, Rocky 5. Moving on, number 6, we're going to go for, and this isn't because I dislike it in any way whatsoever, but just from personal preference, I'm going to put Rocky 2 at number 6, purely because it was quite a dark film. Don't get me wrong, I loved it, and I thought it was, so enjoyable. The fight between Apollo Creed at the end is fantastic. But Talia Shire just kind of annoyed me. Adrian, playing Adrian in this film, she was a little bit whiny, stopping him from fighting, and then when she's sick and she wakes up from her little coma or whatever she's been in. I want you to win, Rocky. I want you to win. It was a bit cheesy for me, and just didn't enjoy it as much as the others. So, while there's a great fight, and Rocky's one of his best performances from Sylvester Stallone actually in Rocky 2, it is going in at number 6, which brings me to number 5, and we're going to go for Creed at number 5. It's really hard, this, because putting something at number 5 makes it sound like I disliked it, but obviously I loved Creed. What was it? It was 10 years after Rocky 6. I thought the franchise was dead, and it was reborn with Michael B. Jordan playing Apollo Creed's son Adonis, and it was hugely enjoyable, very indie, very relevant to the younger generation, I think, actually, a lot more hip and hood, as some people might say. And I really enjoyed it. Liked Tony Bellew as the evil Liverpudlian villain in the film. I thought he was great. Seeing Rocky as the older Mickey character. Actually, he was the same age. Mickey was the same age in Rocky 1 as he was in Creed. So you can see how they've sort of shifted roles throughout the franchise. And I really enjoyed it. But for me, it just doesn't have that classic cult status that the other Rocky movies have got. Which leads me to number 4. And I'm going to go for Rocky. Oh, this is hard. This is really hard. I'm going to go for Rocky. I love them all now. Number 4, I'm going to go for Rocky 4. Now, I love Rocky 4. It's like a 1980s music video, quite literally. I think 3/4 of the film actually are just an amazing montage with brilliant 80s songs like Robert Tepper's There's No Easy Way Out, or John Rafferty's Hearts on Fire, brilliant, and all of the Survivor songs. And we've got Drago, and we've got Rocky, we've got Apollo dying, and we've got this fantastic fight at the end where it looks like Stallone's been hit so many times that anyone would usually die. Actually, in real life, I'm not sure if you're aware of this, but Stallone asked Dolph Lundgren to hit him in real life, and he did. He hit him in the chest, and he hit him so hard that his heart swelled up, and he had to go to hospital and very nearly died. So just an interesting fact about the commitment that Stallone goes to for these movies. And I loved this film. I thought there was a huge amount of heart, but there is no more cheesy and unrealistic boxing movie in the world than Rocky 4, and that's why it doesn't quite get to my top 3. But as I say, loved it. It'll always have a very special place in my heart, and I always watch it with my brother and love it. So that brings me to number 3. Is that right? Am I number 3? Yeah. So I said Rocky 4 at number 4, and funnily enough, I'm going to go. People are going to be surprised by this, but I really liked Rocky Balboa, Rocky 6. Now, This was 16 years after Rocky 5. I think Rocky 5 was 1990, Rocky Balboa was 2006. Everyone thought the franchise was dead. You know, it seemed like the most ridiculous idea to have a 60-year-old Stallone coming back to fight Mason the Lion Dixon, who was a real heavyweight champion at the time. And you're thinking, how the hell is this going to work? How are they going to make it seem realistic? But somehow, Stallone directed it, and he gave it this indie, you know, what's the word I'm looking for? It had this gravitas behind it and this sentimentality that was fantastic. And it had the old score from Rocky, very indie in its approach. The relationship between Rocky and Paulie was just fantastic. It was very sad because Adrian had died, and we see this washed up Rocky who now owns a restaurant. He's lonely, lives on his own, and it was just this quite tragic portrayal of this character Rocky, who we haven't seen in 16 years, and to see him in this dark place and rise from the ashes for one last hurrah and fight Mason the Lion Dixon, this guy who must be about 30 years his junior. And there's a great line in it where he says to Mason the Lion Dixon, ain't nothing's over till it's over. And Mason says to him, what's that, from the 80s? He says, no, I think that's the 70s, which I loved. And I think that it's one of the most underrated films in the Rocky franchise, because despite him being 60 years old and it being so unrealistic, for some reason it felt incredibly believable. And even if you look at Stallone's body, he's a 60-year-old man. He looks fantastic. Absolutely brilliant. If I can look like that when I'm 40, I'll be a happy man. So that brings me to number 2 in the franchise, which is going to be Rocky 1. Be surprised by that, aren't you? A little bit. Obviously, everyone loves Rocky 1. It was, you know, what a fantastic story. I think even the making of Rocky 1, how Stallone wrote it, is an incredible story. He was actually an out-of-work porn star with no money to his name whatsoever, and to the point where he had to sell his dog for a couple of $100 just so he could get something to eat. So he had this idea in his head. He wrote the screenplay in just 2 days, I think, and the studios loved it, but who knew who Stallone was? He was some random porn star, so they didn't want him to star in it. So he said, no, I'm sticking to this. I'm going to be the star of this, no matter what. I don't care what you pay me, I'm going to be the main actor. You know, they wanted some of the heavyweights at the time, James Dean, Clint Eastwood, I think even Al Pacino was in The Reckoning at one point. But he kept to his guns, he starred in it, and that was the start of Sylvester Stallone's magnificent career. And just shows, I think, you know, he's often perceived as this sort of, you know, hard guy. I know I'm dragging on, I'll finish up very quickly. He's often perceived as this, you know, I'm thick, I've got no intelligence. But actually, he wrote Rocky 1, and it's a fantastic screenplay about this, you know, complete underdog who rises from nothing to become a hero to so many people. And to me, you know, I live my life by the Rocky mentality. So Rocky goes at number 2 just because it's classic. The relationship between him and Adrian, between him and Mickey, the character of Apollo Creed, it's just phenomenal. It's just a wonderful film. And yeah, loved it. Love it. So what does that bring me to? Number 1, people are going to be surprised by this, but how can you not put at number 1 a film that has both Clubber Lang, Hulk Hogan, and Apollo Creed all in the same film? And Sylvester Stallone, obviously. So it's going to be Rocky 3. And the reason I say that is because I think out of all of the films in the franchise, this was the most entertaining. I think when you look at Rocky 3, it maintains some of the gritty elements of Rocky 1 and 2, but adds a certain flair and entertainment value that goes perhaps too far with Rocky 4. So I thought with Rocky 3, the balance was just about right. You know, like I say, there was elements of cheese, but there was elements of this, you know, lovely credibility and believability with Rocky and with Paulie, and I love Rocky 3, and it's incredibly sad when Mickey dies and he's got to speak, and you see him at the Jewish funeral, Sylvester Stallone. I'm getting quite tearful now about it. And I love this movie for so many reasons. So that is my top 7. I'm hugely excited about Creed 2. Going to go see it on Friday. Let's see where that fits into the franchise. I'm hoping that with the connection with Rocky 4 and Drago being in it, that we're going to see a high entry to the franchise. So that's all from me. I'll see you soon.